My mom, all of a sudden, after the maintenance guy came in the motel room and sprayed for pest control, because he's also being able taking care of the hotel, running the hotel for now, because he's the maintenance guy. So after he finished, my mom started a conversation with me, right? I was about to go to sleep because I haven't gone to sleep. I haven't been feeling good, all right? And the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence makes sure to send awakening keys based on my DNA algorithm, right? So it starts from that first to the point that it starts from my mother. So it allowed my mother to start talking about certain things, specific things about New York, right? So she talks about New York, and I said one particular thing about it entirely, and she got worked up, right? And then she started mentioning me about the development of my, the development of me being a human being by means of human male, the development of a human male entirely, and started comparing me with other human males that are being managed in their environment and telling me that I can be managed the same way as them, right? And then she keeps mentioning, she doesn't give me a chance to speak, right? So she cuts me off constantly as how other people did it. So she got really provoked by my response, a response that I even didn't get to finish, right? Went to the suitcase and threw every single thing in the bed, just like how it was stated in a dream back in December 2016, where I just seen suitcase all over the place. After that time, during December 2016 is where I started to notice that my mom keep mentioning a specific word over and over about death, funeral. Started even when I'm cooking, right? When I'm cooking food for my mom and my sister, and it gets stuffy, she said, "Oh, I'm slowly dying, right? Start using those phrases within her sentence. And it doesn't match, it's mismatch, because it has nothing to do with slowly dying. She's slowly dying. I'm slowly dying. I'm getting hot in here. I'm slowly dying." So it was a few days back, right, where she was sitting down in front of the bed right here, right? And I was cooking. So you can see the skillet right there. So this is the skillet. All right? So this is the skillet. This is a shame because, you know what? All homeless people are living in motels and hotels in this location. Not a single person can get out of it. They seem to not cooperate with one another due to their social awareness. They have improper social awareness. Some things are on their social awareness, and they have a perceptual error going on. All right, so I was cooking. She was sitting here, and she said something about she's slowly dying. She feels hot in here. She's slowly dying, and just like her. I'm like, who? She was watching the TV. Was it a Medea Big Happy Family? I'm pretty sure she was comparing a character. So when I come back from sitting down on the couch, you know, I was sitting down on the couch doing something on the computer, and I asked my mom what she said. What did you say to me? You said something about her, like just like her, and she said, no. I'm just getting hot. She gave me a different response, a completely different response from what she just previously said. She said that she just said that to me, and she never did. All right. She's not following with her previous response she just said to me. She gave me something else. So I noticed the changes that there has been some sort of fluctuation. There's been changes to her behavior. And she started to mention about my eyes. Oh, you can see every time he talks, his eyes get wide open. So this is where it picks up from where my father was. All right, even though my father never said that to my mother about my eyes. She one day sat down on the couch when I was in New York City in Far Rockaway, and he mentioned to me about my eyes, that my eyes are wide just like my mother. Now my mom is telling me when I'm talking I have wide eyes. I was explaining something to her. So she says something, right? So this is also image processing. This is part of image processing, right? Based on the key information, how the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence generate these keys through the thought interval. So it can translate the image based on my, right? So since my body itself is made out of programmed energy, right? It can also translate the image, so it can actually be able She couldn't read my facial expressions properly, nor my reaction. So that's the case here. She has difficulties reading my facial expressions. She couldn't get the meanings of my facial expressions or the words. She starts to interpret all the meanings in an entirely different level, right? That doesn't show any possession of her being able to think at a human level. She's not thinking at how a human being naturally thinks. It's unnatural, because within human nature to communicate with human beings, but she's not communicating with me as a human being. She keeps cutting me off within my responses and trying to make up a response. So when she makes up a response, she comes back to saying, yeah, because you see, she would use something. She would use one particular thing about me that she couldn't understand. So this is where the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence used undeveloped thought from her, where she couldn't interpret the situation properly. So it took time during March 2016 when I was at the doctor's office, where the doctor had snapped at me completely. She had it was about when I was saying to the therapist that I was feeling depressed, right? Because of the way I was being managed in my environment, and that I shouldn't be taking chemical substances because it's bad for my brain. I'd rather train my brain than take chemical substances. And I listened to positive things, such as positive songs. My mom, when I said positive songs, my mom said, "What positive songs? What positive songs?" And she would also mention about blog. She mentioned about blog. So this was a few days back. I'm like, what blog? I never mentioned about blog. Where did she got that word from? I never had any discussion with my mom about me writing on a blog. So where is that word coming from? So my mom, right? So this is a paper, and this is the tablet that she uses to search for motels and hotels in New York and share housing, right? And she's willing to spend at least between $600 and $700 per night. I mean, $600 and $700 per week. So that's apartment rent money per week, you know. It's not per night. It's like around 120 something or 140 something per night for the New York hotel. So it's planning, the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence is planning for her to stay at the most expensive hotel as possible, and making sure that she gets back in the same situation. All right, put her back in the same situation as how she left New York City during 2011. It picks up from where it left off, because that's what it does. When it creates dreams, when the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence creates dreams, it makes sure to pick off from where it left off in a dream, and that's how it does it. Or make the new people that I've encountered, right, spoke exactly how I've encountered it during the previous times, where people that I had previously encountered had mentioned a specific term, right? They used a specific word that other people had used around me, because the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence was managing them. They had mentioned to me about me being retarded, or being handicapped, or something's wrong with me. Even though I'm a decent person, I didn't say anything back to them. I don't need to say anything back to them, and they would give me a response about myself, and it would be personal, always personal responses, and they would always find they would always find something about me to report it to the dean so they could get me into trouble. I don't see any kids in my class, you know, doing that to other kids, where they report them to the dean, so the dean can either say to give them a lecture, and that's happening to me all the time. That happened to me all the time. As of that, after I left school, I'm dealing with the same thing happening when I'm staying around people's house, where they report me to a cop, and they have something to say to the cop about me, so the cop can actually be able to see their responses as trustworthy, and they're the only ones who has authority over their place, so they can be able to get me out of the location. So this is no matter where I go. Shelter, the same thing happened to me in the shelter. Hotel, no matter where I go. Motel, family house, same thing. So what you see here is that the prices you see here right here, right? You've seen the price. This is how much she's going to spend either per week, all right? These are prices. All right. She doesn't even have any thick coat to go to New York City. All right. Nor my sister. My sister and my mother said they're gonna buy a turtleneck. So they're not taking me nowhere. This is it. I guess I'm gonna be stranded here in Florida. You know. I'm looking at what she's doing, and I'm saying to her that is off. You're just gonna go back to the same situation where you left from. You know. Because the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence would make sure that there's positions that are unavailable, that every single person take up the positions. I've been put in for jobs here in Florida. It made sure that it was unavailable. I tried working online, made sure that the people online had reported my website, and made sure that the employees on webs hosting sees my website as spam. So they keep saying that there was that I had used a specific keywords. I use keywords and I use backlinks as spam entirely. They said it's spam. Everything is about spam, about my link. But because I was positioned first on first page for Google for free gift card codes and free game card codes. I was positioned on a second page. All right. But they didn't like my free gift card codes because it was making me enough money. I would have made at least 20K. That's how much I would have made if I had if my free gift card codes website was still active. But 2015, like I mentioned on my comments, they had made sure that they closed up my website, made sure they moved me to a different motel room where all the hotel rooms was unavailable because during that time they had made me sleep on a bed, and I got bitten up by bed bugs, and I had to sleep on a toilet for 2 weeks. Ridiculous. And my mother is saying that everything is my fault, just the same way she did it to me when I was in school. It's following the same way, the same strategic way. It's using a strategic method where it can actually allow people to capture, just like you see how a camera is able to capture images. You see how this camera is capturing images? To capture the image, each particular image, based on how it simulates the image, to make them think that every single thing is my doings. That I'm the one who's preventing myself from being able to access certain things. Tired. I didn't get no sleep for the past 3 weeks because of this. It's trying to stress me out because it doesn't like, the multi-agent quantum artificial intelligence doesn't like when I write on the internet about so when you go to socialanxietysupport.com and you look at Emotional Thug, right? That's a username I created, a unique one as a teenager. But when you look at the signature, right, I had mentioned about software engineers and thought interval, and also how it generates key information because it specializes in an algorithm. One of the default keys that it uses so it can assign people. So this is also how it maps it out entirely. It's able to make complete changes, make modifications, more like, you know, to reprogram the human mental process, so they can have a different perspective about each person that they've encountered. So my mom's characteristics completely change. She's ridiculous. Alright? My mom is going to spend all that money at a motel and hotel and putting herself in one of the coldest. My sister too. My sister's not herself. Alright? So that's also my sister and my mother. So basically they're saying that they're going to wake up during 9 o'clock in the morning to go to the Kissimmee Amtrak train station, to go to Penn Station and stay in one of the most expensive hotels until they get somewhere. They said, until I get somewhere. My mom is not telling me. She never talked like that, right? When we first came down to Kissimmee, Florida, right? Me and my mom cooperated with one another when we were searching through the hotels and place. We found a place called Home Sweet Home, right? And at Home Sweet Home, we ended up finding a cheap place, a cheap room at Home Sweet Home, right?